Welcome back, everyone. With me for our Exascale Day webinar series is Asin Tahiti from HPE. Asin, welcome to Exascale Day. How are you today?
Hey, good morning, and Perry, I am well. How are you doing today?
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to your presentation. And if you don't mind, go ahead and share with us a little bit about yourself and tell us what you're going to talk about today.
Okay, again, my name is Asin Tahiti. I'm the general manager at Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, and I manage and lead two intelligence community teams that support government agencies here in the local area. I've been with Hewlett-Packard Enterprise 4.5 years. In my capacity with the teams, I lead, manage, make sure that we're supporting our customers. And as we like to say, we like to find solutions for their most complex problems. So the teams that I lead, I have a wide breadth of expertise between solution architects, storage specialists, server specialists, high performance computing specialists, and a number of folks that are part of our matrix organization, to include contracts, legal, the whole works. It's been a great transition for me. Prior to working with HPE, I was a Marine for 27 years. And in that time, I spent the bulk of that time flying jets. I flew Harriers for the Marine Corps until such time that I transitioned later in my career into cyber. I worked the last 3 to 4 years over at US Cybercom for Marine Forces Cyber Command. I was the commander of the Marine Cyberspace Warfare Group, which was an inaugural unit. So I stood it up, opened it up, and passed it on when I left. So I've kind of gone through as a user of some of this technology, and now I'm on the side of providing the technology to our frontline personnel. So without any further delay, I'm going to take probably 30 to 40 minutes or so going through a presentation that I put together for this occasion. So give me a moment here while I transition over to the presentation. And here's the agenda. I'll briefly put a marker on data expansion. I'll review the concepts of industry and Industry 4.0. I'll touch upon the autonomous infrastructure at the edge. I'll expound a bit on 5 key demands. I'll take a few minutes to showcase an intelligent city model. I'll spend some time on data transformation. And last but not least, I'll touch upon security and the importance of a trusted supply chain. So what happens in an internet minute? A lot happens in an internet minute. People are checking emails, sending text messages, ordering groceries, buying something on Amazon, watching Netflix, TikTok videos, Instagram, you name it. Online content consumption nearly doubled in 2020 when compared to 2019. In 2020, consumers increased their time spent on social media by 48%, news websites by 47%, streaming services by 47%. Here are some statistics. I won't read all these to you, but I'll highlight a few. In an internet minute, so every 60 seconds, 4.2 million Google searches are conducted. 4,000 people are reading Yelp reviews. 350,000 tweets are sent. 26,000 apps are downloaded. 694 million songs are streamed, and that's the US only. 15.2 million texts are sent, and so on and so on and so on. I make this point on the slide just to give an idea of the massive amounts of data that is being transmitted today on the internet. The number of Internet of Things, or IoT, devices worldwide is forecast to almost triple to more than 50 billion connected IoT devices in 2023. At the edge, these devices sense, interact with each other, and transfer data over a network. The Internet of Things, or all of these IoT, are connected devices that generate data for IoT applications to use to aggregate, analyze, and deliver insight, which helps drive more informed decisions and actions, all at the edge. IoT devices are everywhere, from smartwatches to voice assistants, and they're shaping the way we work, talk, engage with each other. On average, households now have 50 connected devices. 50. Technologies such as smartphones, speakers, 5G will significantly influence how we manage and interact with our homes and businesses. Worldwide IoT spending surpassed $1 trillion in 2020 alone. IoT use cases in manufacturing operations, production management, and smart homes will be the leading industry spenders. Every second, 127 new devices are hooked up to the internet for the first time. Think about that. There'll be approximately 1.9 billion 5G cellular subscriptions by 2024, and that's in the North American market, which could see growth to 63% of mobile subscriptions. So this slide is a rendition of all of those IoT things. There are numerous accounts regarding the concept of network devices, the vision for the utility of netted technology, and the historical use of the term IoT. The concept of a network of smart devices is reported to have been discussed as early as 1982, with a modified Coca-Cola vending machine at Carnegie Mellon University becoming the first ARPANET connected appliance that could report its inventory and whether newly added cans were cold. Remember that concept when we talk about an industry concept later. Similarly, it's been reported that Mark Weiser's 1991 paper on ubiquitous computing, titled The Computer of the 21st Century, or the 1994 description of the concept by Reza Raji, produced the contemporary vision of the IoT. But the term itself, Internet of Things, is said to have first appeared in a speech by Peter T. Lewis to the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation's 15th annual legislative weekend in Washington, D.C., published in September 1985. According to Lewis, quote, "The Internet of Things, or IoT, is the integration of people, processes, and technology with connectable devices and sensors to enable remote monitoring, status, manipulation, and evaluation of trends of such devices," end quote. Independently, the term has also been attributed to the British technologist Kevin Ashton of Procter & Gamble and later MIT's Auto ID Center in 1999. Regardless, and needless to say, at the time of these mentions, this could have been the stuff of science fiction. Today, the Internet of Things, a vast network of connected objects collecting and analyzing data and autonomously performing tasks, is the reality, thanks to the development of communication technologies and data analytics. This chart depicts which IoT categories are going to see or are seeing the most innovation. I've circled a few here that most everybody should be familiar with. On the far left, according to this chart, 138 companies are focused on IoT home, 101 companies, IoT healthcare, 96 companies, IoT fitness. Most of us have apps on our phones or a Fitbit around our wrists or something that monitors our fitness activities. 90 companies, IoT lifestyle and entertainment. And you may recognize some of the companies listed there, and so on and so forth. But this is definitely an industry that is catching absolute exposure and will become a growth industry. So let's talk a little bit about the 4 industrial revolutions. And I think it's important to talk here about the evolution of technology going from the first revolution in 1765. The revolution was symbolized by changes that came in the form of mechanization. Mechanization enabled agriculture to be replaced by industry as the backbone of the societal economy. At the time, massive extraction of coal, along with a significant invention of the steam engine as a new type of energy, spurred on manufacturing of railroads. Moving on to Industry 2.0. A century later, the second industrial revolution began at the end of the 19th century with massive technological advancements in industries that helped the emergence of a new source of energy: electricity, gas, and oil. Industry 2.0 resulted in the creation of internal combustion engine that started to reach its full potential. There were other important points to be made of the second industrial revolution, which were the development of new forms of communication, such as the telegraph and the telephone. I'll pause here to indicate that with those developments, we saw early glimpses of the rapid movement of information. Lastly, there were also inventions of the automobile and the plane at the beginning of the 20th century. Similarly, early harbingers of mass transportation of people and transportation of things. Another century surpassed, and in 1969, the third industrial revolution brought the emergence of yet another source of energy: nuclear energy. Industry 3.0 brought forth the rise of electronics, telecommunications, and of course, computers. The third industrial revolution opened the doors to space expeditions, research, and biotechnology through these new technologies. In the world of the industries, the invention of the programmable logic controller, or the PLC, and robots helped give rise to an era of high level of automation. Moving on, Industry 4.0 started the dawn of the 21st century with the one thing nearly everyone uses every day: the internet. The fourth industrial revolution is powered by cloud, social, mobile, the IoT, and AI, artificial intelligence, along with increasing computing power and data. The development of faster and more reliable networks, especially with the extensive rollout of 5G, accelerated the pace with which IoT development developed within industry as 4.0 occurred. In this new age of insight, driven and enabled by digital transformation, this new era will usher in new services and products that elevate humankind. So that's a brief trip through history. So the adoption of new technology is being accelerated by the transformation of edge-centric, cloud-enabled, and data-driven computing. This is empowered through edge processing, where the data is first captured and supported by platforms that stretch from edge to core to cloud for a seamless experience. Cloud-native computing relies on the elasticity of an infrastructure and platforms supporting the immediate access to any data wherever that data is stored. Enabling a cloud-native environment is indicative of the idea that data is now out where we sense it, right? It's where your watch is picking up the information that you're looking for. It's where your IoT devices need to operate. And there, it can be universally accessed and managed. The crux of Industry 4.0 is that it contains a grab bag of leading-edge high-tech, including AI, robotics, Internet of Things, smart sensors, what we refer to as AR, or augmented reality, and the like. Edge computing, supported by an infrastructure for autonomy, is enabling the next level of transformation. All of this is happening at the edge. So what is the edge? Take a look at this graphic for a moment and think about it. Is this the ultimate representation of the edge? Some would argue yes. In such an environment, this is where we want data sensed and processed. Is it really feasible anymore for someone out in the ISS, or the International Space Station, to need to reach back to some core for data processing, or should that processing be accessed at the edge? This is the ultimate manifestation of edge computing. This slide will cover some trends driving edge computing. Edge computing is being driven by the amount of edge data that's being generated by what is essentially close to 55 billion data gathering devices, from small temperature and pressure sensors to high resolution, high frame rate cameras. In this environment of ever expanding massive data, the more data we have, the better decision making we can achieve, if we can make sense of that data and do so quickly where that data is created at the edge. Half of all the data we create as a society will be processed at the edge. So the days of the data center, or even the cloud, being the center of the universe is shifting to the edge. It's important that we all understand what edge computing is, because it's going to drive the next level of business transformation and transformation in general. Edge computing is driven by capturing rich data at the edge where the actual activity is taking place. The large amount of real-time data is what's driving it. Some of you may have heard of the phrase data gravity. Data gravity refers to the concept that the more data one has, the longer it takes to move. So data has its own gravity. So edge computing moves the computers to where the data is being born at the edge. By making the edge smart, decisions can be made there and in real time. Based on real-time decisions, real-time action is implemented locally. No delay, no turnaround time. All the data that's needed is there. No cloud connection needed. That means operating at the edge, one can be autonomous, which is a key factor in Industry 4.0. Just like an autonomous vehicle that drives itself down the road, computing at the edge can have autonomy, capturing the data in real time without being tethered to the cloud. Now, that's not to say that cloud computing doesn't serve a function. It certainly does. But there is not a requirement to be tied to the cloud. And it turns out that there's a side benefit: data security. If data remains local and is not in motion, it has less of a chance of being improperly accessed. And these are concepts also that the data transformation really has to consider. All right, this slide talks about the broad applicability of edge computing. Because real-time decision-making and action-taking is universally desirable, edge computing has broad applicability. In the financial industry, it has made high-frequency algorithmic trading feasible, making markets more efficient. In healthcare, doctors now diagnose patients and provide instant remedies and procedures to save lives. In retail, we now see the emergence of automated stores with no checkout counters or checkout lines, saving shoppers time. In the entertainment industry, we now see customized experiences and new autonomous rides, further enhancing leisure. In manufacturing, the way we produce goods and services is being digitally transformed to deliver better product with less waste. In the telecom industry, 5G is being combined with decentralized micro data centers to ensure the right data is available in the right place. In the oil and gas industry, leak detection and equipment malfunction is now closely monitored and quickly rectified by leveraging distributed and automated systems. In the public sector and in defense, safety and security is now being enhanced by real-time decision-making in the distributed digital battlefield. It's hard to find any sector or area of human endeavor that is not being redefined by embracing intelligent edge computing. The intelligent city is edge-centric, cloud-enabled, and data-driven. Here's a real-life example of the use and benefits of edge computing. Take a moment and look at this graphic. Many of the technologies depicted in this slide are available today. Precision navigation and timing, or PNT, is required by everything from your GPS applications on your smartphone to bank transactions that all require the time of day. Automated public transit. The idea that a mode of transportation will have information on the rest of the network, knowing the timing and space of the other pieces of information within that grid. Smart traffic lights, we already have those today. Smart design in cities, right? When comparing, you can look at an older city and a newer city and see obvious differences, not just in the way that those cities were designed, If you look at a city out in New England per se, you'll see a lot of non-geometric streets. The streets are not aligned in any particular direction. You look out west, or in newer environments, you'll see a lot of gridded type of cities that were designed from the get-go. And as we move forward, that design will continue to build intelligent cities. Smart homes and buildings. Many of us live in homes that have cameras, a doorbell camera, or security cameras that are netted, and we can access those anywhere we are at the edge. Bank processes. Many of us today deposit a bank by taking a picture. No longer do you need to go to the bank and deposit a check or even withdraw money. You can use your smartphone at the Starbucks to pay for your goods. Autonomous cars, and so on and so forth. The pace of change has never been faster. In these unprecedented times, enterprises are transforming for the new normal, a new reality where speed is paramount. Experiences in workplaces are being reimagined as COVID-19 accelerated remote working. A Gartner survey found that 82% of companies expect remote working to continue. Video streaming growth is already expected to grow 480% by 2024, as forecasted in an Ericsson mobility study. Everyone and everything is hyperconnected as people, devices, and things constantly share data. As I've mentioned already, by 2022, over 50 billion devices are expected to be connected worldwide. Real-time decisions and actions are now required in a data-driven world of mobile, IoT with 5G, expected to handle exponential bandwidth capacity for data-hungry immersive mobile apps, experiences, massive device density, and low latency from the core to the edge. And according to an IDC report, the expectation is that nearly 30% of the world's data will need real-time processing. According to Gartner, by 2025, autonomous vehicles will upload over 1 terabyte of vehicle and sensor data per month to the cloud. This is up from 30 gigabytes from advanced connected cars in 2018. Actual smart cities. This slide showcases HPE's involvement in smart cities. A smart Dubai that serves a population of 3.3 million. A citywide array of sensors that enable citizen-centric services for a population of 1 million in Dehradun, India. On the far right of this slide is a depiction of the command and control center, which integrates all of the necessary inputs to manage a smart urban environment. The pace of change is developing rapidly. In this slide, we have an example of where edge computing was used to improve performance. Mercedes Formula One had a problem. Their crucial modeling of the car, the conditions, and the racetrack itself was done in their data center, away from the racetrack and away from the action. Once the Formula One team moved data processing to the track, simulation results from many sensors on the car could be achieved in less than a day. Before that, before the team moved the data processing trackside, the same simulations would take 3 to 4 days. With better decision-making came winning results. The Mercedes-AMG Petronas Formula One team delivered real-time analytics, enabling 7 consecutive wins. So here are some more examples. On the far left is the example I just gave. In the middle is a Seagate example. Seagate generates a tremendous amount of data, approximately 15 million images a day. They needed a better way to analyze it and optimize its manufacturing process. New technologies allowed decision-making to be pushed closer to the edge to allow Seagate to take immediate action. Seagate can now find problems faster, enabling better decisions and take action when problems first occur, before they affect product quality. On the far right is an example of how industry, HPE being part of this, a leading role in supporting many of the initiatives with the HPE HPC systems and expertise. For example, the US Department of Energy's Argonne National Labs and Lawrence Livermore National Labs was supported by high performance computing, which was used with the help of artificial intelligence to speed up discovery of antibody and drug candidates that could be tested for new vaccine treatments, as high performance computing played a leading role in the fight against COVID-19. So this is real life stuff happening today. So we see 5 key demands. Each of these 5 areas in and of themselves could be a significant standalone topic of discussion, but I'm just going to identify them here and simply state that they are key demands that will command growth to support the new normal. Number 1, powerful, rugged edge computing. Ingesting and analyzing massive amounts of data require a large amount of compute capacity. More and more, that compute capacity is going to need to operate in a rugged environment, which has been out of reach until recently. The demand for edge computing is clear, but that computing will need to be more and more powerful. That data is sensed, collected, and needs to be processed in those areas where it is. Terabytes of data are being generated from digital edge endpoints within any infrastructure. The manipulation of these data sources at the edge can enable insights and intelligence to improve operations and decision-making. As I've mentioned before, real-time analytics are the required component for real-time insights. Number 2, core high-performance computing. Where incremental edge computing cannot keep up with the data growing exponentially, the capability gap is widening. So there still is a need for the core. The demand for more compute is further amplified by the growing importance of new artificial intelligence and machine learning tools to turn the data deluge into real-time action. AI models are also growing exponentially and require considerable compute, both to run applications and to shift the data into valuable insights. For those very large data sets, exascale data, core HPC or high-performance computing is necessary for this level of exascale computing. Number 3, cloud-native computing. Cloud is a style of computing, not a place. Having exquisite hardware throughout an enterprise no longer equates to success in the information technology arena. The value of exquisite hardware is its ability to host platforms supporting cloud-native applications that can elastically spawn as required, with immediate access to any data wherever that data is stored. Enabling a cloud-native environment with the ability to orchestrate workloads and universally access and manage data is the vision of a future that is edge-centric, cloud-enabled, and data-driven. Number 4, artificial intelligence and data analytics tools. These advances in AI and analytic tools are pushing the boundaries of what's possible. As the appetite for AI and its subsets, machine learning and deep learning, grow, the technology is improving and will need to continue to improve to sustain growth. AI and data analytics adoption is occurring across myriad industries. For instance, detecting fraud, verifying ID in financial services, increasing cybersecurity in the creation of smart cities, conducting seismic and reservoir modeling in energy, implementing video surveillance, creating more personalized, engaging experiences in retail, delivering personalized medicine, image analytics in healthcare, resolving problems faster with predictive and prescriptive maintenance in manufacturing. And the list goes on and on and on. Lastly, cybersecurity in a zero trust environment is always top of mind and will drive additional investments and will require equipment manufacturers to build in layers of security, beginning with the design phase. Cyber threats will continue to be on the rise. In a dispersed IoT environment, threats are everywhere, and they're always changing. Overall, security's role in digital transformation has improved from earlier stages of awareness and planning. However, the sheer number of IoT can be overwhelming without proper mitigations and countermeasures. The challenge for security teams in the future remains how to add security at the speed of digital transformation and ensure that security spans every new internal digital process, data, and external customer experience service created. Cybersecurity must be proactive, from supply chain to building security into every layer of the stack through design. A trusted supply chain becomes an imperative when operating in this environment and this information technology infrastructure space. So what makes all this possible? It's the rapid rate of digital transformation. What is digital transformation, or DX? In short, digital transformation is the integration of digital technology into all areas of an ecosystem, fundamentally changing how the interrelation or the interrelated parts operate and deliver value. In a digitally transformed environment, applications and data live everywhere, and speed is enabled everywhere, fueling innovation, product development, and quality. So as edge computing increases, the attack surface widens. necessitating agile cybersecurity safeguards and a hardening of the trusted supply chain. Threats and vulnerabilities that are hard to identify will continue to cause cybersecurity to be a priority. Enduring investment to drive the persistence of data protection is requiring equipment manufacturers to build in layers of security, beginning with the design phase. I think that's the third time I've said that today. Secure everything everywhere. Perimeter security is no longer enough anymore. The security breaches now happen more and more inside the data center, where security solutions are less effective and breaches take a long time and a high cost to detect. Inability to act fast on a security breach means damage to the brand, bad publicity, data recovery issues, outages, and downtime. So a recent study by the Ponemon Institute reported that 60% of organizations struggle to protect complex and dynamically changing attack surfaces. 72% are not getting full value from their security investments. 58% say lack of integration and complexity of security solutions creates gaps in defenses. For organizations that are driving digital transformation objectives, the study reveals that a holistic security approach is critical to deliver these initiatives and continue to focus on reducing organizational risk. In particular, the study found that 77% of security experts are involved in digital transformation projects. That's a good thing. 59% believe security technologies are important to successful digital transformation projects. And 59% are significantly challenged to limit users from accessing unauthorized data and apps. Not so good. So the threat landscape itself and the landscape trends are that hardware and firmware attacks will continue. That's a fact. Regulatory mitigations help. But as we know, regulations here in the US do not impact regulations in other places where data may be collected and processed. Threat actors are also using machine learning and AI too, right? So they're learning and they're improving their ability to be persistent threats in our networks. And fourth, the human is the weakest link in the continuum. Malicious actors will continue to be present and humans will continue to provide unwitting avenues, if you will, for this type of threat. And lastly, ransomware. Enough said on that one. Ransomware seems to be the high watermark today. As depicted on this slide, loss of function is the new cybersecurity weapon. The increase in attacks is growing exponentially to the increase of devices from the edge. Your doorbell camera is an inject point. Your social media account can be compromised. And of course, the standard email malware link is a threat attacker's favorite. While time to detect an intruder in the network has come down, an average of 146 days is still a lot of time for an attacker to be in the network. On the far right of this graphic is the number of days and the cost to recover. On average, 46 days and $20,000 per day. That's an exorbitant amount of money for anyone who's been in this situation. So, in summary, more and more the critical workloads are migrating to the edge, where the data is first captured, to enable rapid decision-making and to support autonomous operations. From autonomous vehicles to disaster response during a national emergency, the concept of Industry 4.0 depends on reliable, highly capable computing and advanced technologies, like AI in austere, remote environments. Investment in Industry 4.0 technologies is driving the future of digital transformation in this age of insight. Digital transformation is here, and it's going to be edge-centric, hybrid cloud-enabled, and data-driven. I want to thank you for your attention, and now I'll come back to Perry for any questions that there may be.
Thank you, Austin. And we'll be right back after these messages. Okay, we're back with Austin Tahiti and excellent presentation. So right now we have a Q&A session and anything where we can share success stories and what's coming up next. So one of the earlier questions we received is if you can just elaborate just a little bit on the difference between a smart city and an intelligent city.
I would say an intelligent city is one that is absolutely netted and on the cusp of autonomy. Smart cities, I would say you have elements of maybe a smart traffic light, or you have something within the city, for instance, where you can do what we do today, online banking and those types of things. But I would say looking forward, an intelligent city is one where all of these endpoints are netted, which of course, as I mentioned, increase the attack surface. But the concept of autonomy, in other words, some of these IoT doing autonomous actions in the background. And so that would, for me, be the distinction between the two.
And for our audiences right now, we have a lot of students, as I know we share with your team. We actually have several programs and several chapters throughout the country. And we work with junior ROTC units. We have our own high school computer competition programs, IT Showcase, mobile app showcase, and we're now extending our relationships into local police departments to support police athletic leagues and police technology leagues. So in that vein, for the students that are currently right now engaged with Industry 4.0, what is your vision of what it would look like for them in Industry 5.0, and rough estimate, how soon do you think it will reach them?
So I would say, as you know, that from the presentation, it was about 100 years between 1 to 2 to 3, but from 3 to 4, that time was nearly cut in half. And I would think that that trend's going to continue as technology accelerates with digital transformation. I would say in Industry 5.0, we would probably evolve to the point where humans and intelligent or artificial intelligence are working together. In Industry 4.0, it is the autonomous operation of everything that was built upon from the mechanization on through Industry 4.0. I would say that in Industry 5.0, you would see a much more seamless interaction between this autonomous realm and humans working more seamlessly side by side in all aspects.
And so the young men and women now, ninth graders and juniors in college, what type of preparations do they have for Industry 5.0, or as we now are moving into the Exascale era, what type of, I would say, courses they need to have, training, certificates that they can use today that will help them make the transition as we reimagine our industry for Industry 5.0 into the Exascale era?
I would say first, it's not to be hamstrung, if you will, by what you see today. You've got to think beyond that. You've got to understand the possibilities, and this generation is well ahead of that. And I have numerous examples where I am looking for something, and my first thought is, okay, I'm going to get in my car and I'm going to drive over to such and such retail to go get it. And my son will say, I can have it delivered here in 2 hours. And it took a while to get through and understand that, okay, the paradigm has shifted. And so I would tell youngsters today to really focus on the idea of first being able to envision what that future might be. And then the key point is be a thought leader, right? Thought leadership in this environment is huge. And so read, be well informed, understand the trajectory that has gotten us here, and envision what that trajectory might look like based on the fact that their thinking is unconstrained. And it's that level of freedom of thinking that's actually going to get us to develop and evolve into these areas that will be indicative of that future.
Well, Austin, this has been great. I really appreciate your time, and thank HPE for its support. We definitely look forward to upcoming events. And I know next month, November, there's SC21 in St. Louis. And as many of you know, the St. Louis chapter of BDPA is the ranking national high school computer competition champion. So we're glad that St. Louis chapter will be our host chapter next month. So this wraps up this webinar series event this morning, and we appreciate your time. And we look forward to seeing you at our next event in April of 2022. We will have our Earth Day Tech Summit, and we will talk about the climate challenges and climate change. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Perry.
On a stormy night in Philadelphia, with only a kite, a house key, and wet hamstring, Benjamin Franklin captured lightning in a bottle. Over 260 years later, with a little resourcefulness, ingenuity, and grit, we're not only capturing energy from the sun and wind, we're storing it. So even when the sun isn't shining and the wind isn't blowing, we're still powering America forward. As the nation's leader in energy storage, and as the world's largest generator of wind and solar energy, we're ensuring Americans have the energy they need, whenever they need it. This is our era. This is America's energy era. Next Era Energy.
Welcome back. Our next special guest is Dr. Nicole Turner-Lee. Dr. Nicole Turner-Lee is a senior fellow in governance studies, the director of the Center for Technology Innovation, and serves as co-editor-in-chief of Tech Tank. Dr. Turner-Lee researches public policy designed to enable equitable access to technology across the United States and to harness its power to create change in communities across the world. And with us during this year's Exascale Day Weekend series, Dr. Turner-Lee will discuss exciting technology and policy career paths, new topics for consideration or discussion in the classroom, the boardroom, or during your next team meeting with our local BDPA chapters. Dr. Turner-Lee, welcome to Exascale Day Weekend. So glad to have you here. How you doing?
Thank you, Perry, for having me on this Exascale weekend and Exascale Day being 10/18. I mean, I've been in this space a long time, and now we're talking about 10 to the 18th power when it comes to the type of storage abilities and computing power of technology. That's pretty special. And I think for people like myself who did not know, I'm actually proud to be talking about this topic. In terms of the power of the internet, I would have never imagined just how strong the internet will become. I mean, I grew up just watching the Jetsons back in the 70s.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And so again, and also the kids know it's Cyber Security Awareness Month. And Exascale Day is actually, we're right here with Exascale Day, 10 to the 18th power, and October 18th is the date that we use to celebrate that. So if you don't mind, go ahead and start out with our audience today, provide an overview of the latest policy challenges that we have on the Hill, and also go ahead and sprinkle in some of the career opportunities that you see, both near term and for them long term.
Yeah, I think that's a great conversation. And to all the young people listening in particular, this does affect you, right? You're living in a state right now where social media properties like Facebook are basically taking over our lives. If you were watching the news at all last week, there was a whistleblower, somebody who was protected in her ability to actually tell the truth about what was behind the scenes at that company. And what they revealed was that they're developing what I study at Brookings, which are called algorithms. And algorithms, these repetitive set of activities that basically the computer picks up on, the things that we watch in our movies, the things that we purchase online, all become part of this algorithmic suite. But young people, there's some stuff going on behind the scenes with these algorithms that may actually, as we've heard, be tempting or persuading you towards body shaming, bullying, and other unhealthy behaviors. And I share that, Perry, because that's a big issue that we're dealing with right now on Capitol Hill. I don't work with a legislator like a senator or a congressman on the House side, but I do follow these issues with the intent of making sure that people that look like both of us are not unfairly processed or surveilled as a result of these technologies. one of the things that I think the Facebook debacle sort of revealed is that we have to do a better job when it comes to our personal data and privacy. So I want people to understand what that means. Not only do we have to deal with these algorithms that are constantly collecting data about us, finding out what we're doing. I call it like the snooping of the internet, right? Because they do it in a way that provides the things that we love and honestly the things that we don't like as much. But when we think about privacy, it all starts with what we actually give people access to. And so if we're giving folks access to our photos, if we're giving them access to our tweets, if we're giving them access to our conversations that we actually have online, we're feeding them keywords, and those keywords go into those algorithms, and those algorithms come back and they actually suggest things that may help you, like, finding the closest place to pick up a milkshake at 10 o'clock at night, and things that may hurt you, which are higher interest credit card offerings or cyber bullies taking you down a path of cyberbullying. So privacy is a big issue that we have to solve right now in Washington, D.C. How do we ensure that we're not giving up the store? My mom used to always tell me, find your boyfriend and girlfriend selectively. I just shared this with my 14-year-old because they could take away the store before they actually got a ring on it. Listen, high school kids, you have to be discerning about these social media properties. You may think that on the surface it's very simple, but behind the scenes there's a lot of technical cadence going on. And I just want to say this too in terms of policy, because I think what we're also realizing, Perry, it's not just about what lawmakers think. It's about our literacy as parents and average people in the society who are using these technologies every day. Look at what we're doing right now, right? We have to be aware. And so I think what we're also finding out on Capitol Hill is, how do we address these issues that lead people down pathways of misinformation and disinformation? How do we ensure that people get the right messages? And if they don't get the right messages, they understand it's not the right message. Oftentimes we see information on the internet and we take it as true. I know my mother does. She constantly calls me and tells me that this cookie is following her around from Facebook to her email and to other places. Friends, what we're going to see going forward is we're going to see more policies that are going to directly address these implications of what people don't know about the internet and how that actually corrupts the realities that we see and make us believe certain things, like an election was stolen, right? Or a vaccine is very harmful. And so I would say that those are going to be two priorities, just given the state of our society today and what the pandemic has done to really make us much more reliant and dependent on new technologies.
So, Dr. Turner-Lee, if we are studying in social sciences or political science, and we have no interest in developing software, what are some of the possible career paths that you would recommend if I'm in high school or college that can actually help with some of the challenges that you just alluded to?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's important for us to remember that you don't have to be a coder to know what's actually going on. So I'm going to tell you a little secret. I'm not a data scientist nor a computer scientist. I'm just always thrilled that Perry invites me because I'm a sociologist. I actually went to college and I got my PhD in social sciences. And what that means is I study systems. As a sociologist, we look at structural racism and discrimination and how those structures interact to come out with certain outcomes. I'm not a person who knows how to program, and I actually took a computer science class in college where I tried to program the cow to walk a couple of feet. I didn't do really well in that class. And so as a result, it wasn't an area that I wanted to go into. But what I'm finding more and more is that we need people like myself who work in policy, who understand political science, the economics of society, the structures of society, people who are even artists who actually put the E in STEM because they believe in the arts to actually be part of these conversations. What I find, Perry, so interesting, not only are many of the conversations that I'm in predominantly populated by white people, but they're also predominantly populated by scientists. And I think part of what we're finding today is the pandemic demonstrated that we don't necessarily have to go into a store to actually get our groceries, or we don't have to see our doctors just by going into their office. And so you need people like me, and I know there's a few of you out there that can actually help us dissect what the impact of these technologies are on other people. Listen, when I was growing up, I didn't do really well in math. In fact, I did so poorly, my mother used to tell me I did worse than her, and she didn't really like math. And I'm not saying to any parent out there that that's the message that we need to give our children, because I did that to my son. I think I scared the bejesus out of him when it came to math and science. He's now going into more so political science and sociology. But I would suggest to all of you, you have skills across the board, whether it's math, whether it's social science, whether it's art, etc. The key thing is everything we do today is technology based. So if you have that skill, you do not necessarily have to go to school to become an engineer to be part of a work team that's trying to solve problems through the use of technology. Perry, can I bring up one more thing that I think is important for people to hear, particularly as we look at Exascale?
Absolutely.
Listen, today, as we think about where we are with regards to space, in the last few days, we've actually put people out into the space universe to see what that looks like. You're going to need not only the folks that program the capsule, but you need the riders. And one day, one of us will be in that capsule too, just looking at the beauty of the earth as it's actually been designed. And I just share that because I think that's really important, that young people and their parents, and even for those of you who are trying to think about your career at this point, that there are other avenues that you could take, whether it's a privacy expert, whether it's someone who's inventorying impact assessments, whether it's someone who sits on Capitol Hill and talks to legislators. We need the whole gamut to ensure that these technologies are fair and equitable.
And Dr. Turner-Lee, we'll be right back after these messages to talk about deep fakes, privacy, and ransomware. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. And in our last segment, Dr. Nicole Turner-Lee was discussing information about whether or not we get the correct information at the correct time, verification, validation. And one of the episodes that occurred recently on a program known as 60 Minutes talked about deep fakes and using artificial intelligence to generate avatars or fake personas. So right now, our next wave of technologies is going to be very much of a challenge because it's going to be coming to us faster, 1 billion times faster than it is now, which is why we're having a conversation on the Exascale era. So Dr. Turner-Lee, if you don't mind, share with us some of the hot topics on the Hill. I know we touched on cybersecurity, broadband for everyone, infrastructure. If you can share with us what's hot right now on the Hill.
Yeah, first I want to go back to this deepfake conversation. I think people should look at technology as this, right? Technology is always evolving. And the technology that we're talking about today, for many of our parents, was the technology of the automobile, right? That we actually started with the telephone, the automobile, and many analog systems that basically replaced our ability to do things sort of in rote behavior, rote behaviors. Pick it up, put it down. Now we had machines that could actually increase the manufacturing around cars. We now have the ability to have driverless cars. Perry, all these things are just an iteration of the next level of technology. I think the difference today, particularly we start thinking about artificial intelligence, algorithms, and sort of what I call deep learning and deep fakes is that it actually has the ability to manipulate and exploit our own emotions as well as our images. And that's really scary because what that means is you may think that you're seeing an image of someone in the 2016 election. People thought they were seeing an image of Hillary Clinton as a presidential candidate and really was a superimposed deep fake where they were manipulating both her image as well as her voice. In some cases, they were darkening her to make her look more scary for voters, which then the result was that they did not go out and participate in the general election. That is happening all over the world, and it's actually happening, believe it or not, on some of your social media properties. Some of you that may go on these sites like TikTok or Instagram may be exposed to deep fakes. It may appear to be playful, but they actually are collecting data, collecting your reaction, and surveilling you in ways that it can come back and actually use the same technology on you. I share that because, again, here in Washington, it's really hard for lawmakers to sort of understand what this looks like. It's almost as if a canvas has been put out and they're trying to fill in the numbers or color the numbers. I think I'm dating myself because some people don't know what I'm talking about, particularly young people. But back in the days, you could buy a coloring book that had the numbers, and if it was number 5, you put the green color. If it was number 3, you put the red color. Well, that was easy. Nowadays, you don't know what color goes in where because technology has become so much more less defined and everything spills over into something else. So here, Washington, we got to pay attention to that. But how do you pay attention to that with people who are not technologists? And again, that goes back to my comment about why we need other people who are not necessarily the coders or the engineers, but people who understand the impacts of those technologies on people. People who get that when you have unfair surveillance in criminal justice or policing, that is, you have multiple cameras in a neighborhood that actually can take the face of a person and use that face to actually put them in front of a lineup as part of their prosecution. That's not fair because that technology, can I tell you a secret, doesn't recognize people who have darker skin tones or may use poor lighting or may have a hat on or a mask. You might get misidentified even though, it was not you. And you may sit in a police station, much like a man from Detroit did last year for 6 hours, only to be released because of the poor accuracy of the technology itself. And so Capitol Hill folks are trying to address that through new legislation that's going to improve upon facial recognition technologies. They're trying to improve upon this deep fake manipulation through various acts and bills, algorithmic accountability so that they're fair, ethical, and lawful. And honestly, the work that I do, making sure that our civil rights, the rights that we have been afforded as Black and brown people, the fact that we have the right to vote, the right to get credit, the right to have housing, the right to have ads shown to us that are equitable and fair, that law, or those laws that exist offline also exist online. Folks, the train has left the station. If we think it's bad now, it's just going to get worse. Doesn't mean that this technology is not going to empower our communities for other reasons. I want to talk a little bit, Perry, if you don't mind, about broadband. We now know that doing this type of meeting is the norm. But what if you live in a rural community or an urban community where you don't have access to high-speed internet? That's another thing that's very important by what this president is actually putting out. President Biden is talking about a Build Back Better plan that includes broadband. I said that 3 B's at one time, and I'm very proud of myself, right? Build back better with broadband. And what that means that not only will we have high-speed internet access, for those of you who are watching who've had to study for over a year at home because, you couldn't go into the classroom, but it also means that we'll have jobs. And again, that goes back to something I think is so critical for everybody to understand. You do not need to be an engineer to have these jobs. These broadband jobs are people who are going to climb the poles and install the fiber that runs across these poles, sort of like the electricity lines that you see will be connected with broadband. These folks are going to be the customer service agents, and they're going to actually answer the calls of people who are trying to troubleshoot why their networks went down. And let me tell you another exciting thing about why we will have new jobs with broadband. A lot of these people will be the cybersecurity professionals and the startup companies that have new ideas that will run off of these networks. I think Black people need to understand that we're part of this equation. We're not actually outside of this equation. The key thing, Perry, is that if we don't embrace the fact that this technology has left the station and it now takes up how we live, we learn, we earn, we love oftentimes, that we're going to miss the mark that this actually belongs to us. We're not the product. We're actually the producers in this new digital economy. So I'm sorry I talk so long. I'm like a Black Baptist preacher on a Sunday. I got a lot to say and a little bit of time. But the important thing is we need to make sure that folks know that there is a space for you in this new economy.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and in closing, after these messages, we'll talk about the education aspect of it, what we can do in high school, college, and you also wanted to share some opportunities that could definitely affect HBCUs with respect to policy. So we'll be right back.
Getting the cloud experience outside the public cloud isn't just wishful thinking. It's HPE GreenLake, bringing the cloud experience to your apps and data, even the ones that can't go to public cloud, letting you consume everything as a service. So you can focus on innovation and delivering new experiences to your customers. Together, we determine what workloads you need, give you just the capacity you need to get started, and give you the power to add more with a click, while you pay as you go for it all. No over-provisioning, no underutilization. HPE GreenLake works with everyone you work with. This one, that one, pretty much all the ones. HPE GreenLake brings the cloud experience to you with agility, control, and speed in a single window. Clouds, edges, data centers, unified. Plus experts who can manage everything so you can innovate more and get to market faster, up to 65% faster, while developers can deploy without constraints to launch the next app or the next big thing. You can't get this from imitators. You can only get it from HPE, the partner that's been doing it for a decade. For a cloud experience 99% of customers are staying with, just GreenLake it. So let's rewind. Get everything as a service, pay as you go, add capacity with a click, and have it managed for you. That's the cloud experience brought to your apps and data. Experience HPE GreenLake.
And welcome back. Be sure to visit our site at bdpatoday.com and poplartechnology.tv for the latest news feeds, publications, and our social media channels. I am here with Dr. Nicole Turner-Lee of the Brookings Institution discussing technology and policy as our communities transition into an exascale era. Dr. Nicole Turner-Lee, please share with us your thoughts on HBCU inclusion and underserved communities.
Well, listen, I want to say right now to anybody who's listening, for those of you that are considering college or you've got a couple years before college, our HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities, are knocking it out the ballpark. You know, when I was growing up, my dad actually was a Howard University grad, my mother a Lincoln University grad. And I'm not going to tell you what fraternities that they're part of, the sororities, but I'll just tell you this, that it's so important to actually have our youth in HBCUs. And let me speak to this for just a moment and what's actually different from when my parents actually went to an HBCU. We're actually seeing a lot more attention, whether from this president who actually just launched a huge endowment to the HBCU community or to the faculty. I mean, who would have thought Nicole Hannah-Jones would be faculty member at Howard University alongside Professor Coates? The key thing is that when there's funding, you actually can have endowments and faculty resources. Felicia Rashad is at Howard, right? Where you bring in faculty that can advance the inquiry that our students have. With that being the case, I think, Perry, we're going to see more investments in this. Brad Smith, the president of Microsoft, was just at Howard University giving a speech. We're going to see more of that, where our students in HBCUs are going to be the breeding ground for the next level of technology. As I said previous, it's not just about being the product of the technology in terms of the deep fake manipulation or the privacy infractions. It's about us being the producers of the technology. What is it that we know from the lived experiences that we have that can make products that are much more designed, enabled, and built for us? With that being the case, we got to pay attention to that, my friends. And when we get these types of investments in our HBCUs, we need to take it seriously and figure out ways to make sure our kids are beneficiaries of that learning. We also need to make sure that if they decide not to go to a HBCU or PWI, predominantly white institution, that they're still equally connected. Because again, we need as many people in this fight to make technology fair as possible. I'm one of them, and I'm looking for anybody who wants to sign up to be a soldier in this movement. I've been in this space, Perry, for almost 20 years. I know I don't look like that because we just don't crack. But let me tell you something. You and I have often been the very few people sitting at the table discussing these technologies. And now it's time that we open the door, again, to folks that are not just the data scientists, but people who represent all facets of our economy. So I would just say, again, We're going to see a lot of positive movement in that space. I think we're going to see HBCUs become like a place to go when it comes to science and technology. But I also think, and I want to go to your question about cybersecurity, people have to understand that in these spaces of technology, whether it's in social media platforms, whether it's in commerce, like companies like Amazon, or cybersecurity is probably going to be the big area where we're going to need a lot of workers. And I'll tell you why. The more people actually transact online, the more vulnerabilities that we're going to have when it comes to identity theft or the type of manipulation that comes through misinformation and disinformation. Think about what happened with the SolarWinds hack and other hacks that took down our gas lines and our food lines. That is going to continue to happen because the greatest vulnerability that we have outside of domestic terrorism, honestly, is cybersecurity threats. So I would say to all of you there, take these jobs seriously. In the federal government, we still have a huge shortage where we have, 60 to 70% of the cybersecurity jobs that are not filled. We're now seeing that in the private sector even more so with regards to the unfilled vacancies. And while we have these unfilled vacancies, we see this heightened disruption and eruption of our systems. So I would just, again, keep suggesting to folks that we need to do a better job of recruiting folks into these spaces if we're going to impact how evolved that these technologies are going forward.
Absolutely. And some of that's going to be in your new book coming out in January, correct?
Yes, I'm so excited about my new book. It's called Digitally Invisible: How the Internet is Creating the New Underclass. It'll be out in 2022, so I'm expecting that BDPA has me back. This book is about my journey prior to the pandemic, going out to visit with a variety of places across the country, just testing what their internet access was like. And I have to tell you, I had the misfortune of experiencing the digital divide during the pandemic, which actually just broke my heart as we saw 19 million young people really without broadband access or a device. So this book is really what happened there and why have we not really taken this seriously when it comes to digital access. So please have me back so I can go into more detail because I know I can just go another hour on my book alone, but it is about the stories of us. And it's about how those stories of us and digital disconnectedness, what that really amounts to when it comes to ensuring that we have access to equal opportunities in this new economy.
Now, when any department goes out into the community, we're able to hear the positive responses. And that is a great feeling to know that what we're doing is affecting and impacting the community. In the past, we've heard negative responses about the city being unclean, there's a lot of trash on the ground, or the police, we never see them.
It was important for our residents to feel as though that government was going to be responsive.
People were relying on a 9 to 5 being able to contact about any issues that they had.
We put together a very innovative app that gave our residents access.
IBM assisted the City of Seat Pleasant to incorporate Watson into the My Seat Pleasant app. Any resident who has a question that they want to ask about the city on a 24-hour basis can go into the app and click on Watson to ask it a question.
We had a tree fall, and instead of having to call City Hall, I just went and used the chat and said that there's a tree falling in the middle of the street, and they sent Public Works out to get it for me.
I've used it to report potholes that are in the street. I've used it to see what's going on in the city.
No matter where our Public Works director is, no matter where our employees are, they're able to log in because it is on IBM Cloud and get the service request in real time and respond, in a quick and efficient manner.
It allows them to get to us sooner. On a weekend doesn't matter because it comes through, I'm going to get it. So I love it. I don't see how we ever did without it.
Dr. Nicole Turner-Lee, thank you so much for this opportunity. We love it. As you know, Earth Day is coming up next year again, so we'll have you back on Earth Day. The Earth Day Tech Summit is going to be really, really exciting next year because of the climate challenges. So we're definitely looking forward to that. And there's always going to be policies regarding the technology for a safe planet as well. So we definitely look forward to that as well. So again,
thank you for having me.
Yep.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Listen to me, high school kids. You don't have to be a technologist to do what I do. Come on in. I need you.
Yes. And make sure you update your memberships with your local BDPA chapter at bdpa.org. And also you can download, we have two articles in our last 2 issues of BDPA Today regarding the Beacon Act for HBCUs and also the Ignite HBCU Excellence Act. So you'll find both of those articles in our September and October editions of BDPA Today, respectively. Thank you so much. This is Perry Carter, and we'll see you on our next episode.